King James was quite proud of his homosexual relationships. Not only was he brazenly public about them, but he also defended his relationship to George Villiers before the Parliament. In his speech to Parliament, King James once stated the following incredibly blasphemous words, and I quote, "You may be sure that I love the Earl of Buckingham more than anyone else, and more than you who are here assembled, for Jesus Christ did the same, and therefore I cannot be blamed. Christ had his John, and I have my George." So, to restate that, King James VI, whose name appears on the front cover of millions of our Bibles, announced to his Parliament that day that Jesus was a homosexual too, and his lover's name was John. George Villiers went on to become King James's favorite companion, replacing Robert Carr not only in bed, but as Earl of Somerset. King James also promoted Villiers to become Master of the Horse, Earl of Buckingham, and Lord High Admiral. Villiers stood by King James as loyal bedmate and assistant in rulership until the king died in 1625. That's interesting. These are actual historical records with historical testimonies on them. I wonder why we never learned about these special friends of the Bible man when we were in Sunday school. We also know that King James was undeniably a Freemason. On April 15, 1601, he was initiated at the Lodge of Scone, Scotland, at the age of 35. In the archives of the actual Lodge of Scone in Scotland, they keep a document called the Perth Agreement. That document attests to several items in the history of the lodge. The document states that in 1601, King James VI of Scotland, at his own request to John Milne, who was the king's own master mason and master of the Lodge of Scone, was entered freeman, mason, and fellowcraft, and during all his lifetime he maintained the same as one member of the Lodge of Scone. A Freemasonic website out of Canada states the following. On the west wall of the lodge hall used by Lodge Scone in Perth No. 3 in Perth, Scotland, you can see a mural depicting King James kneeling at their altar in his initiation. On that website and from countless other sources, we find pictures of that mural, as you can see here. The greatest evidence for King James's heavy involvement with secret societies, however, comes from the very pages of the King James Bible itself, containing an abundant array of Freemasonic, Rosicrucian, and alchemic symbols starting right on the title page, which you will see in a moment. Not only was King James himself highly involved in this secret society, but he was very close to another man who was chief of the Rosicrucians at the time, and that was Francis Bacon. After King James ascended to the English throne in 1603, he knighted Francis Bacon